makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In this episode, we are going to have a conversation with Mya Kermelewicz. She is a youth advocate and founder of Mya Prevention Services, which works toward educating and preventing teen dating violence. Good morning, Mya. You are a relationship coach and youth advocate. This is so unique. And I'm excited to learn more about your work and how you actually helping youth and also helping women and even men navigate relationship issues. So what is the backstory that led you to become a relationship coach and also a youth advocate?
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you for having me first. So my background, I got a psychology degree and creative arts therapy degree at Endicott College. And then I got my master's degree there as well right after, and that was in business administration. So it was very different. But I had known from a young age that I really wanted to get into this type of work. I started working at the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center in Massachusetts near me, and that was in high school. So I was doing programs like Mentors in Violence Prevention. I was doing Girls Inc. And both of those programs were really all about empowering our youth and working with them. So for the Girls Inc., I was teaching self-care, body positivity, doing art creation with them. And then in Mentors in Violence Prevention, that was both guys and girls in high school age. And that was just educating on teen dating violence and helping them become aware of warning signs and ways they can help themselves and others. And during the pandemic, everything was really just set in perspective for me. And I realized that a lot of schools around me needed youth advocacy programs because the pandemic had cut so many of them and cut a lot of the funding. And I sort of thought that was my time to step up and create my own program. So I just launched MK Prevention Services in February and then became a relationship coach this summer. So it's all exciting and new.
Wow, you are one of the lucky ones because a lot of time in high school, even if we know what we want to do, we don't actually really do it when we get out of high school and go to college. And so it's kind of fascinating to see that you wanted to do that since, at a young age and actually continue it with adults, your adult life. So how did the idea of, I know that you said that COVID hit and then it's like it was your time to, but do you have like an early time where you felt like, okay, if I really want to help students and I want to do more, maybe perhaps I will need to have my own business?
Yeah, so you said before, like, you don't know this typically when you're young, then actually pursue it. So it just goes with it. As a teen, I was in an abusive relationship and I was 13, and I realized afterwards in high school that, we're really not taught in sex ed what we should know to be successful in our lives and in our relationships. You're taught the most basic things at school, and then maybe sometimes you'll get a little bit more at home. But I was always told, this is how it's supposed to be when I was in this toxic and abusive relationship. And I didn't have that strength, that confidence, that knowledge at 13, 14 years old to know that this isn't what love and relationships are supposed to be like. This isn't healthy. And that sent me into what I like to call toxic cycling. So since I didn't get the help I needed, I fell into these toxic and unhealthy relationships over and over again, going back to these men that would disrespect me, that would degrade me because I didn't know that I was capable of finding that real love. So I began speaking out on my experiences, and I realized that we are gypped in sex ed. We're not taught all these things. And there are also so many other teens that were going through the same thing. And I knew that there were other programs out there like this that could help, and programs that I ended up being a part of. But when I wanted to make it my own business, I realized that I can really have these creative decisions, and I have that, um, I'm young enough where I'm really relatable to these students still. So I thought
Yes.
this is exactly what I'm meant to do, and this is the time to do it. So I'm going to go off and start my own business. It is a huge issue. I mean, there's 1 in 6 American women are victims of attempted rape or rape. If you're transgender, genderqueer, or non-conforming gender students, then there was 20% of them in the last year that were also assaulted. And then for men, 18 to 24% of them are 5 times more likely to be assaulted while they're in school and in college. So I just knew everything is so real and it's happening now. And I have the knowledge, the empathy, and that deeper understanding that maybe the other programs around me don't have. So I thought this is what I need to do.
That's your calling. But the numbers are high. Wow.
They are high. And, a lot of people said, abuse happens, but not here, or, oh, this wouldn't happen to my son or daughter, not in this town. But abuse is real and it's happening all around us. So that's where I really learned the importance of education for prevention and implementing that at such a young age, because that's when it can and does happen.
Does it happen between students or does it happen, we'll just say, even with teachers and students?
I mean, yeah, we see that in the news all the time. And when there is that imbalance of power, you cannot give consent, as well as if you are underage, so 16. And that does happen a lot with, students and teachers, or workers to their boss. But a lot of times it is in college, with, typically like acquaintance rape. And 8 out of 10 rapes that happen actually are acquaintance rape, meaning you do know the perpetrator. So it could be within relationships, this violence is happening, you're dating someone, or it could be one of your best friends that you thought, would never do this to you. But when you're intoxicated at that college party, or you're at this high school party, and it can happen anywhere, anytime. So it is unfortunate, and it typically happens
Yes,
when someone, yeah.
absolutely. Yes, it is. So now you started MK Prevention Services, and then talking to you, you want to educate and preventing teen dating violence, and then I can
Mhm.
understand that because we all went through that stage of life where we just lost in paradise,
Yeah,
literally like lost. So
exactly.
where do you see yourself with this? Do you see yourself taking it in a local level, or you want to be able to do this on a national level?
Oh my gosh, I would love to do this nationally. Currently it is, I have a sole proprietorship. It's just me doing this right now, and it is all local. But I would absolutely love to get to the place where I can expand this business nationally. I mean, this is not just an issue here, it's an issue everywhere. And like I said, like education for prevention, I believe that that will mitigate these dating violence statistics. So I would absolutely love that. That's definitely my goal.
So, what can you tell us more about MK Prevention and then the services that the company provides?
Of course. So I educate on and prevent teen dating violence in high schools, and then sexual assault in colleges. So I still touch upon that dating violence piece, but I do focus a lot more on sexual assault, as that is where it's most common. So I do this through public presentation, group facilitation, and one-on-one sessions. So I have multiple packages that schools can choose from, and I do offer services to parents as well. I thought that was something that I hadn't really seen in other businesses around here, because, students can get the education in school. When you come home, it's great to have that continuous conversation and have the knowledge and tools to have that conversation. And then I just also recently started working with athletics programs in colleges, which I think can be so powerful, because sports are such a prominent thing in our society. They hold so much influence. So having athletes on campus and having coaches have this knowledge on how to prevent dating violence and sexual assault and truly understand the meaning of that, we're going to prevent a lot more dating violence within these schools. So that's overall what I do with that.
And when you say that you the coach for with the teams, so when it's come to the coach, how do you help them understand for that? Because watching the news sometimes that even happen between the coach and the team
Mhm.
members. So how do you help the coach to not end up in that type of situation?
Yeah, so I basically I run workshops. So really when I go in, I want them to understand everything around sexual assault and everything about around being able to build rapport with your students. I don't go in saying, "Oh, you could be a perpetrator to these kids," but I like to acknowledge that that can happen. So really we're diving into the statistics, the issue at hand, learning the proper definitions because a lot of people don't truly understand that. Why people don't report assaults because that, big issue in, the silence of victims and then showing them the next steps after an assault, tools to help their athletes cope with mental health and the traumas that can come with being assaulted. So PTSD, anxiety, depression, what are these warning signs we can find in students? And then how can we help support them after an assault has happened? And how can we be preventing this on a day to day basis? So it's really all about building rapport with those athletes and making sure they understand this issue and that the coaches are there to help and the coaches take this seriously. This isn't just for compliance that athletes have to go through. I want them to truly feel like this is so important. And it's not only, important for their physical health, but their mental health as well.
Hmm.
And that's something that I think is looked over way too often is our mental health and especially with athletes and coaches. There's so much pressure. But we need to break down those stigmas and talk about these uncomfortable conversations.
Exactly. But do you also provide one-on-one?
Mhm. Yeah, so I truly value the conversation that comes after any of my public presentations or workshops because I know that I'm reliving my own traumas when I share my story. And I know that anyone out there sitting in that audience could have gone through the same thing as me, had a friend or family member that's gone through the same thing. And they need time to process those emotions and talk about them and figure out the next steps for whatever was going on in their mind or whatever had happened in the past. So I like to offer having those one-on-one sessions afterwards for anyone that was in the audience that really wants to have that relationship with me afterwards. So I think that's so important to, discuss. They can't just hear it and then go on with their day. Like you need to break down what you just heard.
So how does the services, do you reach out to the schools or can parents reach out to you to have that type of conversation with their kids?
Yeah, so I would love if, anyone reached out to me, and typically I do get a lot of people reaching out after events that I do. But when I want to go into schools, I typically am reaching out to them, but it has been a lot of word of mouth as well. So if someone hears, oh, I was just at Merrimack College and their school is nearby, they're going to say, oh, I heard you just did this and we'd love to have you here too. So
Okay, I like what you are doing. If you can stop
thank
it
you.
now, I think it's very helpful because a lot of us as women, we grow up to to be that woman and society is expecting us to be without them knowing what we went through as a kid or even a teen.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
if you yourself can educate and speak about it so people to understand, because a lot of time you see someone, you wonder why would someone do such a thing, but you really don't know what that person
Right.
went to actually get to that level to make such a mistakes, because it's a lot of
Mhm.
mental issues as well that created, especially when you've been raped and sex abuse, it's mentally destroy you. From someone I study
Exactly.
psychology just like you, and that is one thing when I know when my teachers ask to write paper about, sometimes I even start crying to see it. I
Mhm.
know that at one time I wrote a paper about a guy that raped over 100 women. And for me, just writing this paper about this person, I'm like, how can you don't realize what you are doing in the first place?
Exactly.
But even watching him in court, he wasn't sad about it. He was
Mhm.
laughing. So it's kind of these things that it's unfortunate for the woman themselves, the one that survived the assault, and then most of them die. It was a few of them that survived that assault. Sitting in the courtroom, it's painful to see someone
Of
you're
course.
laughing what you did to so many women. You know?
No, of course, you wanna see that someone has remorse for what they did, but like you said, you have no idea what is going on within them, what their own childhood traumas probably were that got them to this point, and you sort of just have to look at it as, they need help. Like, yes, I am hurt, but I need to heal me and cut this cord from them. So, I completely understand that it's extremely hard to watch and read, and I definitely deal with that when I'm hearing other people's stories after even, like, reliving my own each time. It can bring up a lot of emotion.
Yes. So do you how do can when people get in touch with you, do you for one do you wait on Zoom? Do you do it in person? How does that really work?
It totally depends. So when I go to the schools and offer one-on-ones, I'm sitting there in person. Typically, I sort of have my own, like, private room. And then I've had lines of students that just wait to see me because they either wanna say, like, "Thank you," or, tell me their own, trauma story, and then I like to have a counselor with me or, on the other side of the door where it's like, "Okay, if you say, this extent to me, I need to then tell them, and you have to have a conversation with a counselor after and continue this, therapy with them just because 'cause I'm not a licensed therapist, so it's like I can hear you, empathize, give you my advice, my tools, but then, you have to get your help after that. But if someone's just reaching out to me, I do have an Instagram that I made that's specifically for students to reach out to me because I know that's probably the most common social media platform for teens and college kids right now. So I always say at the end of every speech, I'm like, DM me, message me, like, we can talk, we can text, give me your phone number, whatever is going to make them feel most comfortable and heard. I'm open to in person, Zoom, and texting, whatever it is.
Texting. Do
Yeah,
you
well,
plan
messaging, not my number, but messaging on Instagram.
right? I got you. You don't wanna have a bunch of teens stalking you. I
No,
can see that
no.
happen. Do you plan on getting your license?
So, yeah, that was my original, plan. I did get into Leslie's art therapy program. That was always my dream. But it just kind of worked out in this moment that I was like, I think this is my path right now. I think eventually I will because that is my long-term goal. But I needed a break from school. So,
I feel you with that. Oh my goodness, school. Too much work.
yeah.
Too many papers.
I know, and I'm like, I love learning. I do actually love school, but it's like, we're there from pre-K through a master's degree. Like, thinking about getting a second, another 3 years, I just like need a moment.
Break time. I need to build this business first.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, and I can hire, like, I'd love to get licensed therapists in here eventually and coming to schools with me. That'd be wonderful. But that's gonna come when, this expands. So.
Exactly. Do you know one thing that talking to you, I realize with what you are doing that how amazing it is. But also, I wonder, do you have a plan to have a nonprofit organization?
Yeah, I do think about that as well because 'cause I'm like, this is, it aligns with that, really well, and I think, again, it'll come with that expansion. I would love to be a nonprofit that, goes global and I'm in every school you can think of. I think that truly actually could end, dating violence. Like the statistics could go to 1% a year, because it begins in youth. Like I just truly, truly believe this is going to break cycles. So
Exactly. I think that also that would be a great opportunities for most students to get your help, and also you'll be able to afford therapists, even psychologists to
mhm,
even work for the company and be able to help you
exactly.
out. So you don't have to be overwhelming all the time that you need to do everything on your own, and also get support from families and from big organizations, from other um, organization that want to support something like that, because I think that what you are doing, if we can stop these things from happening to our children at that stage, then we have a
Mhm.
better chance of having stronger women that can
Yeah,
move on to the next step of their life. Also, even if they go through it, be able to stop them from going to that trauma when they get older, because I see a lot of women
yeah,
that go to that trauma, they get lost. It still hurt because they haven't talked to anyone about it. And
exactly.
so, and I think it's just you were talking. I was just thinking about it. This is a perfect for nonprofits to
No,
raise
I trust
funds.
yeah, trust me, I think about that all the time too. I am just building the foundation now as it's only been a couple months and it is just me. Need to make a lot more money first and then we will get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that you can reach more school as well. And I think more schools will not say no to something like that because they know they need
Mhm.
it. They actually
Exactly.
really need this within the school itself. So, so how important do you think it is to navigate relationship issues?
I mean, it's so important in so many levels. And I do always say, I think everything stems back to self love. That's something that I'm so big on. I think the greatest, most important relationship in your life is with yourself. So you need to know yourself, love yourself like nobody else knows, to then understand your own wants and needs, not only in relationships, but in your life. How can you be truly successful, happy, content if you don't know the things that you truly want or need to be the best version of yourself? So you've probably heard the saying of like your body's a temple or a garden that you need to nourish. And
Mm-hmm.
I always refer back to that. I think it's so true. You need to be able to nourish your body to watch it grow. And how you love yourself is how you show people how to love you. So I think that when both parties are at that stage in life and you both have that confidence and self love and security, you can solve anything. I think it also sometimes when you are in relationships, it leads back to love languages, which is joked about all the time on social media, but that is a major, major part in all relationships, and it dictates how successful we are. So when I do go into schools and I'm talking to students, and these are, younger relationships, they're probably not living together or anything like that. I don't get to the love languages just yet, but I try to check in with them. I'm like, when you're in a toxic relationship, you tend to lose part of yourself. Like we talked about, you're so emotional, and trauma can cycle and it can live on through generations. Generational trauma, I'm sure you've heard. You're psych. Um,
Right.
so I always like to say, the moment you start to second guess yourself, the moment you start to lose sight in your passions and the people that make you you, the people and the things that make you happy, that's when we want to check in with ourselves. Is there an imbalance of power here? Am I being manipulated? Am I being respected? So if this person is changing the best parts of yourself, that's when it's time to get help. And that's when it's time to work on ourselves to then get through whatever these hurdles are.
Yes, absolutely. So, how do you cope with off days? So, we all have those
Yeah.
on and off days and we're always looking for something to keep us going. So, when you have those off days, what keeps you going?
Yeah. So Yeah, like you said, everyone has those days where you doubt yourself or what you're doing or you feel insecure, whatever it is. I'm not perfect. I definitely get them too. Especially when I am going in schools, reliving my own trauma, and then I sit down and hear like 10 rape stories from, all these people at schools. That's that's when I need to practice my own self-care, like I said before. Something I learned a while ago, so it's called completing the cycle, like completing your emotional cycle. So when you feel emotionally drained or upset, it's so important to actually tap into those feelings. So this means whatever's going on in your life has really caught up to you. And it's important to understand and accept those feelings. Nothing is wrong with you. Cry it out, take time for yourself. And I think, like I said before, with especially athletes and men, we have these societal standards to be that typical definition of masculine and to be tough all the time. But I think, like, why are emotions weak? I think you are strong as hell if you allow yourself to have these feelings. Like, you have the power to understand these feelings. And I think it's really important. So, you want to witness it, allow it, release it, and then nourish yourself. That's the most important thing. So if you don't release those emotions, you're going to have this block. And when you
Yes.
have any kind of emotional block, like I said before, how can you be that best version of yourself? How are you going to tackle these projects and these goals and dreams that you have in your life? So allowing yourself to feel the emotions and to release them and let them out, that's why I think that's so powerful. So I let it out, and then I practice whatever grounding exercises that I have, whether it's yoga or different breathing exercises. I like to meditate. I love to journal and create art. Going on walks, exercising, like those are all my favorite things. So I give myself a day after I go and speak because it is emotionally draining, and that is a wonderful part of being an entrepreneur. You make your own schedule. So I'm blocking that time for self-care.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So, many teams don't speak up due to fear. They don't tell
hmm
the parents what happened to them. They hide it because they don't know how the parents are going to react or what people are going to
Yep.
think of them. All of these things. So, how do you encourage them to raise their voice and feel safe at the same time?
Yeah, so I like that you said too, scared to tell their parents, and that is something that is actually very statistically true. So if you are an adolescent or a teen that has gone through some sort of abuse or dating violence, they have this fear of rejection or getting in trouble. So they get the response, well, you shouldn't have been drinking. Well, you shouldn't have been there at this time. Oh, why were you there?
Yes.
But in no way, shape, or form was your trauma, your assault, your fault. Like, it doesn't, the circumstance doesn't matter, you know? So I first like to explain all the reasons why people don't raise their voice first so that they know they're not alone. A lot of the times it is fear of being in trouble. It's, I know the person who hurt me. I've been intimate with them in the past. I have no physical injuries. They probably won't believe me. I feel like I'm to blame. I'm worried law enforcement won't believe me. The list goes on and on. So I like to share those reasons and then have them acknowledge that that's okay. That's normal. It's fine to be scared. I I think that sharing my own personal experience is something that has helped the most when I talk to people so that they feel like they're not alone. And then I like to get people into, typically when someone has experienced trauma, you're in such a fight or flight, your heart rate's up, you're panicky, you can't think straight. So, like I said before, grounding exercises, whatever we can do, I try to get them into the best place they could be at that time. And then let them know their options if they were assaulted or whatever happened. I think that there is power in knowledge and this education and knowing that they have these choices and that choice is theirs. There's comfort in knowing options, and then I provide the support systems for whatever that choice is that they make. Just understanding how to report and learning about those experiences takes away a lot of the unknowns and can help you feel more prepared. I also do like to explain that survivors say, reporting and seeking justice can help them recover or gain that sense of control again. And they do have time, if they want to report. I do explain that. Not necessarily time with rape kits, but with reporting, you do have time if you have that evidence. So that's pretty much all I do. It's, education, grounding, comfort, support systems. And a lot of times when they are given a little time to digest all that knowledge, know they're not alone, that's when, they do get that power to stand up. And it does typically help others then stand up too, which is why I always say, empower others to empower themselves and everyone else around them. It's like a chain reaction. When someone does stand up, it encourages others to do the same.
Exactly. And then that's pretty much what you did. You stand up and then you share your stories so
Exactly.
that they can feel comfortable to come up front, share the stories as well, and then even talk to you about it, even if they don't feel comfortable talking
Yeah,
to the parents or anyone else in the family. So
exactly.
what you're doing is amazing. And then I do hope you keep on doing it. You don't change the method of it, because we do need
Yeah.
that type of program in and out of schools so that we
Mhm.
can help our children from being in a situation they shouldn't be in the first place. So that
Exactly.
get me, do you have any advice for businesswomen who are just starting out?
Yes, so I think, unfortunately, as women, we have so many factors going against us, and so many people think we can't make it, we can't do it on our own. And I'm questioned and asked about this all the time still. I'm like, when am I getting that 9 to 5 as a 23-year-old woman? And to that, I'm just like, you know what? Watch me succeed without this traditional 9 to 5. Watch me succeed in following my dreams. So, to anyone that's unsure or scared, channel the power that I talk about, channel that power that I know you have within you and go for it. Find another woman in business like this, use them as a mentor, ask them questions, follow your intuition. And I think if there's passion behind it, I know you will succeed and empower other women out there to do the same. Like I said, it's that chain reaction. So even when all odds may go against you, just keep pushing. Women are so strong and powerful, and it's time for the world to see that, honestly.
Absolutely. And you are right. And I think that's the best advice ever. We are
Thank you.
strong and we are capable of doing so much more. Imagine as a mother,
Exactly.
and you are battling different things every single day. Even if you're
Mhm.
not a mother, you're still doing all these things. You are multitasking all day long. It's
Mhm.
naturally come to you. You just do it without even thinking about it. So a lot of great things that happen in this world. I'm not saying men don't do anything. Yes, they do a lot of great things as well. But us as
Yeah,
women, we do a lot of things that we don't even get credit for. So I think
exactly.
that, like you said, we are capable of a lot more, and we just need to step up and fix that big, huge gap we have. We're not supposed to have it.
No, it's time to step up, and we can do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Maya, for taking the time to have this conversation with me. I
Thank
appreciate your
you.
knowledge, you sharing your knowledge, and then you are supporting young kids and teenagers to help them, not going through those tough situations they're not supposed to. We only have one time to be a teen, to be a kid,
Yeah,
and we should be enjoying it, not feeling stressed, not being in depression, not being in trauma or anything like that. And when I see other women step up for things like that, I think that we understand it better than men. And
yeah,
we know how it feels as well. We cannot know how a man feels, but at least we know how the woman feels. So it's a good thing what
right.
you are doing. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Maya, for taking the time to have this conversation with me. Let me know your thoughts about this episode with Maya. And to learn more about Maya and MK Prevention Services, please visit the link from the description below. Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app. or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.